Hi, NAAC. This is Ted Seelheimer from the University of Houston with our next edition of the NAAC Chat, grabbing people from different parts of the country and the compliance profession, talking about issues that are impacting us during these unprecedented times. I have on Zoom chat today Tom Mitchell from Purdue and Randale Richmond from Old Dominion, here to talk about leading their departments through crisis. And Tom, I'll throw it to you first. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you're prioritizing projects for your staff and ensuring work gets done at this time.
Thanks, Ted. Right now, the biggest thing we're working on is to make sure that we're communicating very well and we're staying organized. And that's not easy to do with all the constant changes that are coming at us. So at a 50,000 foot view level, we've taken to putting together a compendium of all the COVID related activities, projects, anything related, and that's across the entire department. Each head of department is doing that at senior staff level. And then we're sharing that with our president and with our board. At a local level within our office, I've asked each of my staff to provide a weekly update of their to-do list, things that are primaries, things they need to get done right now, and then some things that are secondary. There hasn't been much change in terms of they've picked up on these are really urgent items right now in this particular time period. But we moved some other things to the secondary level that normally would be top level things, like a medical hardship waiver. We're going to push that down because we'll take care of that later. And quite honestly, some of them are being taken care of through the season of competition waiver for COVID. I'll send it over to Randale.
Yeah, it's many of the same things. And, I've been lucky enough to go to a number of these professional development things. The things you learn over time is, what are your value systems? So the values that you have, and then how that dictates what you then do. So with me, one of the guys in the industry, Lee Reeves, athletic director at Georgetown, he always talks about how the best athletic departments are student-centered, coach-led, and administrator supported. So we use that same type of build out to prioritize the things that we have going on. We try to operate in a high touch environment with our staff. So we'll have meetings with the mid-management staff on Mondays, and then later on with the compliance staff at 1:30. And we've just been trying to keep those things going. In those meetings, we talked about, that prism, that approach of support and service. And you say, okay, what's coming up this week? This first going to start with servicing our student athletes. That's then going to have our coaches prepared. And then it's going to give us the answers that we've been looking for in communication that we seek administratively. And then we go about it that way. So a lot of this is that pre-planning outline that you put together. Our director of compliance, Scott Canner, name drop, he has developed our compliance calendar. And we've been sticking to that. So the things that are in there on that monthly calendar that we go over, we're divvying out different projects. And I'm in the position where I work with the compliance staff as well as overseeing the academic staff. And now it's like, okay, now that our academic staff is right there on the front lines, what are ways that our compliance staff can jump in on some of the projects with them? Because this new Zoom or virtual environment, our advisors on the front lines of that. So how can the compliance staff now jump in and be merged as one complete group to, again, assist from the student athlete level to the coach level and then up to the administration level?
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to build off that, Randale, and ask it, have you changed the way that you're communicating with any of your constituencies, either within your compliance staff or with your student athletes, coaches, or other department staff?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Ted. We're actually communicating. Yes, we've changed. And we're communicating to a much more descriptive level is a way that I can say it. Typically, I would only combine the groups once a month and meet that way. Now I've combined the academics, student athlete development, and compliance groups once every week on Tuesday. And we run down the list and run down the lines. And as Tom was mentioning to you earlier, a lot of this is university dictated. So we're getting information from those who are on the university committees, and then they're getting that from senior staff level, and then making sure that we're communicating in the same way that we will want to be communicated to from that other level. And that's what we've been doing the most on those Zoom meetings. And it helps you feel as if you're still connected to people. One of the things that I believe made us a really good group is that we always saw each other. We got in front of each other. We were sharing different quips with each other. That gets a little bit more difficult if you're doing things over email or over text. This way, you still see people, you still see them in their environment, and it gives you more context to who people are. And some of them are even more comfortable in this type of environment. So now that we've kind of shifted these meetings and combined them all, it's everybody even not only pulling in the same direction, but you also have the visual semblance of pulling in the same direction. So it's helpful for that connectivity, which I believe helped for production, because that's part of human nature. We always want to be connected in some way. And I think you get the best out of people in that fashion.
Gotcha. Tom?
The thing that we've changed that's been kind of a nice byproduct of this tough situation is our staff is joined in with other staffs at their weekly meetings. Normally we might send one person, or we'd only go once in a while. Our head of sports medicine, Doug Boersma, name drop, is in charge of conditioning and sports medicine. And so that includes sports nutrition, sports psych. And so with everything that's going on and coming out related to what you can do practice-wise, virtual, all that, we talked, him and I, and said, it'd be great if instead of just one of my staff members, we all join in. If nothing else, we can all hear the same conversations, because you always lose little bits and nuances. You can give the email updates and the updates to the staff later, but hearing it real time, because like Randale said, we're losing those short, small, intimate moments. The water cooler, it's gone. So we have to make another water cooler. It's got to find another way where we can share those moments. And we've expanded that with joining in, all of us went in on a SAC call today. Normally it's just one of us. All of us were on an academic call, 2 weeks ago. So it's just a matter of trying to find those other ways to connect. And then from a larger communication standpoint, we're doing more mass communication, but it's much more deliberative. I think in the past, whenever you get an NCAA update, you fire it out right away. Not the case, because stuff is changing so fast. So, there's some times where I'm sitting on something for a day, and then the next day it changes again. It all changes again. So it's like, well, let's not confuse our people, because it's already confusing enough. Let's give them the right information at the right time and the right information to the right folks. So I think right now you can get information overload. I don't know what you guys feel. My inbox is pretty daunting some days, Well,
and I think obviously as the media is quite honestly accurately reporting a lot of the things that are happening, then you get a lot more people clued in. But then while it may be permissible, there's a lot of other layers from a university or department perspective that are impacting those things that make things harder to act upon immediately, or give people the idea that, okay, well, I'm going to move forward in this world. You're right. It may take a day or two for that to really sort itself out. Tom, I was going to check with you on what adjustments you've made to job responsibilities or to the compliance work itself.
For job responsibilities, we haven't changed too much yet. I think for us, it was more about we're looking at it as a project-based approach. So we broke into teams, tackled the seasons of competition and put together some materials for the coaches so they could look at how many student athletes qualify, met with the coaches and the sport administrators. And then also in some sports, we actually met with student athletes, did Zoom calls like this to try to talk them through what are the options, where do you want to go? Do you want to graduate and move on? Do you want to come back? What does that look like? The next is going to be modeling related to playing and practice seasons and what the models for the fall could look like. Once we get past that, behind the scenes, I've already been looking at what we're going to be doing differently based upon those models. If we don't have kids back on campus all summer, what does that look like? If we don't have people back for preseason, what does that look like? If we don't have people back in the fall? And then, conversely, what if we do have them back, but it's in a very different way? What do those restrictions look like? What do those onboardings look like? And I know there's going to be national guidance that'll come out from the NCAA relating best practices and things of that nature. And we're going to also have to work with local and state and probably national government on what those look like. But, we need to figure out what we're doing in kind of 1 month chunks, but still looking out 6, 9, and 12 months, which is a little bit different than normal. But honestly, for what we do, like the calendar that Randale referenced, we have one too. This is pretty much in our wheelhouse. This is problem solving at its finest.
Randale, is this something that you've been working on as well, 6 and 9 month out programs?
Yeah, and a lot of it does have to do with that calendar. I think people are used to coming to the compliance profession for hypotheticals, what if, scenarios, breakdowns, solution finding. This is what we do, as Tom said earlier. So in this sense, we are looking at all the scenarios, and some of the scenarios that you're looking at are bleak. Hey, that is also what we do as well at times, fortunately or unfortunately. At this point in time, you want to have a group who's solution-based. So we're looking at all the solutions far out, and that's what we've done in the past. Now we're being called in to do it on different levels at different groups and different committees. And when you get in those areas, the whole thing is, are you helpful? You know, I mean, that's what we preach to our staff. Are you being helpful? Do you present value? And in this sense, you have a great opportunity to be helpful and present value. In the sense of the job responsibilities, this hasn't necessarily changed people's responsibilities drastically. What it has done is it's enhanced the expertise of different people within my staff. So the person who's very savvy on ARMS, the recruiting compliance software, that person is of high command and high demand, I should say, for the things as Anna Marie Gender in our office. So anything dealing with ARMS, as we're trying to communicate with larger sums of people, it's not just us asking from a compliance and academics perspective. It's getting that question coming from the athletic director perspective. They need to get a hold of all the student athletes as soon as possible. From the fundraising area, they need to get in contact with all of our coaches as soon as possible, because everyone's within that hub. All the new things we haven't done on that environment or that platform, but maybe the coaches have. Now we're getting a lot of our other administrators in there on that platform. We try to have one voice, being that I have different responsibilities. As I mentioned Scott Kenner earlier, I want him to be fully established as the director of compliance. So all the information, while we're getting it and receiving it, we want our coaches to be able to go to one hub to receive it all. All the updates are coming from here. All the other administrative updates are coming from here. Anything dealing with recruiting is going to come from here. Anything dealing with different NOI, that stuff's going to come from here. So we've basically highlighted what we sent out to them earlier in the year, that sheet of what everyone does that wasn't as important. It's a little bit more important now, because that's exactly, to a highlighted fashion, what everyone is there to do in order to provide a service.
Right. They're not just walking down the hall and you can just point to the next door neighbor and say, not it, here you go.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the last question I have for you guys is thinking about what has been the biggest obstacle you faced, either on a professional or a personal level, going through this, and how that's impacted your ability to lead your department. And Randale, I'll start with you.
Yeah, high touch, high interaction. The quips get us throughout the day. We do a thing within our office where we always look at the origin of idioms and kind of where they come from and why that is a thing. And, there's always all types of studies out there about how do you get the most production out of a work environment. I'm not one who believes it's strict work all the time. I think that burns people out. I think the enjoyment, the interaction, the excitement to say, hey, I'm going to see my friends again today, and we're going to do something that impacts people for days beyond measure. And this is exciting. And this is something that's really good to do, because I love and I like the people I work with. And I'm excited to interact with them. I'm excited to solve some with them. I'm excited to figure out something with them that's going to benefit our staff, our students, and everyone abroad. So that piece, to me, is a big piece that's missing. So trying to adjust to that and have different type of ways that we can engage in this environment. So something as silly as having a virtual background. Now it's every meeting to see who comes up with what. Different animals that now are part of their families. Now they're part of our families because they're on the Zoom call too. You see the different juggling people have to do with the kids, because not only do we have people who are working from home, we have people who picked up an extra job that they don't get paid for, i.e. teachers at home, because they're teaching their children in the background and trying to operate in that environment. So while that's been one of the hardest things, the goal is we're trying to find different ways to adjust to it. And you don't have the opportunity for everyone to kind of speak at the time because you are working through technology. So then now you're working on, I'm playing mini TED throughout the week and working on my moderator skills of trying to get everybody involved and included, because that's such a big thing about my leadership style, is that inclusion piece and everyone having a part, having a voice. And this makes that so much more difficult. But hey, there are a lot of difficult things going on throughout the country right now. So I'm just trying to continue to create that high touch, high visibility environment and give everybody a project, some job to do, so they still feel connected to the core. So that's been the main difficulty and kind of like my approach to it.
Gotcha. Tom, what's going on there at Purdue?
I mean, I think a lot of things that Randale just highlighted, related to trying to stay connective, trying to stay, trying to work-life balance is just very difficult. I mean, yeah. It is a minor miracle or a major miracle that we've been on this for however long, and not one of my 3 children has either cried, screamed, broken something, or come in here asking for something. Like, I don't know what I got to do to keep this rolling, but I need to, because trying to pick that up has been a challenge too. So I think it's the biggest challenge is that it's disruptive to everyone. It's disruptive to me. It's disruptive to my family. It's disruptive to my coworkers, to my staff, to our student athletes, to our coaches. I mean, nobody is without a disruption in any of this. But what's been nice is there's been a lot of grace as I've talked to, whether it's some of our athletes or our coaches, administrators. Like, I think everybody's understanding, which doesn't always happen. You don't always get that. I'm going to give that person some grace. You know, you might get it from someone with a high EQ. You might get it from someone you know and you trust, you got a good tight bond with, but everybody's pretty much giving it right now. And that's been a beautiful thing. You know, like, we're all giving each other that grace because we're trying to figure out how to be a better moderator on a Zoom call. Or, you know, is this an appropriate call where I can turn the video off because, you know, I just don't want people seeing me. Like for some people that's hard. You know, it's not that I didn't shower. I showered. I'm clean, but it feels weird being on a video all the time. You know, for others, that's their jam, that's their vibe. And so, you know, trying to be understanding of that. I've noticed difference between the different staffs when we sat in. You know, extroverts and those, they're all about it. You get into some of the more introverted staffs, you know, it'd be okay if we just did a conference call. Do we really have to do a Zoom? Do we really have to do a WebEx? It's like, well, we're going to share documents. Okay. Do I have to turn on the video? You don't have to turn on the video, but I would like to see your face. You know, once in a while, let's connect. So those have been the toughest challenges, I think. I think just also dealing with, you know, for me, this is kind of, it's going to sound weird. This is kind of easy. You know, when crisis is hit, like, that's usually when I'm my calmest. That's how I've always been. My dad's that way. I struggle with, like, small problems. I just have no patience for them. But my biggest problem is remembering that most people aren't like that. And I need to take a step back and not just plow ahead and say, how are you doing? Is there something I can help you with? What are you concerned about? How can I help you? What can I answer to help you, reassure you? Whereas those thoughts don't even cross my mind.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to think about it is we have a lot of answers, but trying to figure out what those questions are to make sure that we're hitting the right people and hit them the right way. And I appreciate you guys being on the call here today and letting me talk to somebody whose last name isn't Seelheimer for once in about 2 days. So,
and Ted, this wasn't necessarily on there, man, but I think, you know, the biggest thing about this part of us all leading the crisis is really knowing who you are. Like, Tom just went through a great description of who he is, and he is very in tune with who he is, and he's very in tune with the direction that he wants to go with everybody in whatever subset, whatever category, and the service and opportunity and the vision and the piece that he is for all of them. So this is, at any point in time, with all the different things that come about, you can get pulled in so many different directions and there's so many things going on. But if you know who you are, you set a structure and you are able to stick to that structure as much as you possibly, because everything around you is in some type of form of chaos. But because you know who you are, you know what your values are, now you know what your priorities are because you know your values, and then now you're able to prepare your outline. Now you can be a sense of stability, like Tom was speaking about how his father is and how he is. Now you can be a sense of stability for all the different people who have on a daily basis looked to you for leadership and look to you for direction. So I think that piece is vitally important. So for those who don't have that written down or have an idea of what your core values are and how they apply, then take this time to get that going, because it's going to make your day-to-day agenda that much easier to figure out.
Right. Well, that's great advice, and appreciate both of y'all taking the time and sharing with us a little bit about who you are. To the NAAC community, please feel free to reach out to not only these peers, but anybody else, as we're all trying to figure this out together. So thank you guys very much. Look forward to talking to you guys on the next NAAC chat. Take care.
Thank you.